Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. Today we're... oh, what's this? Oh, it's a new elemental hero! Why does Konami keep releasing exactly one hero at a time? Well, you know what that means. We've got to jam that sucker in a deck and try to make the best of it. That's right, today we are playing with elemental hero SOLIDMAN. Maybe he can solve one of the 4,000 problems with heroes, right? Right? Okay, let's just get into deck edit. So here's the list. It's so close. We're just like 3 cards away from a deck without any bad cards in it at all. As always, I'll give you a little bit of an explanation about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So firstly, for those of you that don't know, Hero is an archetype of superheroes, I guess, used by Jaden Yuki and Aster Phoenix in GX mostly, and like Dark Magicians and Blue Eyes, it is a bottomless pit of nostalgia cash, so Konami prints pretty new ones pretty regularly. Now, it's been competitive a couple of times over the course of Yu-Gi-Oh's long lifespan, but most recently was because it used the incredibly powerful Dark Law alongside elemental hero Bubbleman to summon powerful rank 4 monsters like Bahamut Shark. Unfortunately, Power Creep and Master Rule 4 have effectively doomed the archetype to unplayability for a lot of reasons. First, it's threat light. Second, you routinely run out of relevant cards in your deck. Third, it's easy to brick with malicious versions. Fourth, Bubbleman's special summoning effect has become much less powerful when setting back row is a liability because of evenly matched. Fifth, hand traps prevent summoning him in the first place. And sixth, Bahamut Shark does almost literally nothing anymore. Enter SOLIDMAN. If I had to describe him in one word, he's solid, man. One of the worst cards Hero was ever playing was a card called Goblinberg. He would special summon a monster from hand when he was normal summoned. It was clunky, but you could find him off Reinforcement of the Army, and it was a simple way to get Shadow Mist out of your hand. Well, SOLIDMAN fills that role by doing literally the exact same thing, but also by being a hero and special summoning a hero from grave when he's sent to the grave by the effect of a spell card like Mask Change or Polymerization. Now, because of that, we are tuning the Wonder Driver hero list built on a previous episode to include Masked Hero Diane combos. Now, it still aims to use Vision Hero Vion to send a Malicious to Graveyard and set up a Wonder Driver play, but we now have the flexibility to do similar things by summoning Shadow Mist off of our SOLIDMAN. It's also a pretty reasonable reason to play E-Emergency Call, which was previously missing from our deck, because we didn't have very many special summon from hand effects, and because we really only had the one target, Shadow Mist. Our Dream Openers make a Dark Law below a Wonder Driver with an extra Mask Change set from his effect. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First, we've got the best hero that's still legal, 3 copies of Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. After that is 3 copies of Vision Hero Vion, who we're primarily using to send Malicious to grave. We would send Shadow Mist to grave to get SOLIDMAN from deck, but the whole reason we would do that would be to special Shadow Mist, and you can only use one of their effects a turn. Next is 3 copies of SOLIDMAN, who special summons a hero when he's normal summoned, then when sent from the field to the graveyard by a spell effect, can special an elemental hero from the grave. After that is Honesty Neos, a searchable battle protection for Darklaw and an easy way to assemble the lethals that usually evade this deck. Next are 3 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious, who banishes from grave to special itself, usually to trigger Wonder Driver's effect, a Gofu, and a Max C. For spells, we've got 3 copies of Emergency Call, which snags Shadow Mist or SOLIDMAN, 3 copies of Hero Lives, 3 copies of Mask Change, 3 Cosmic Cyclones, 3 Scapegoats, 2 Pot of Desires, 1 Regeki, 1 Polymerization for Vion's secondary effect, 1 Rhoda, 1 Foolish Burial, and thanks to my Twitch viewers, 1 Form Change to tag out DN for Anki and vice versa. Finally, we have 2 strikes and a warning. Extra deck space is pretty tight. We have 1 Adoration, 2 Polymerization, 1 Diane, 1 Anki, and 2 Darklaws to Mask Change, Baguska as our only rank 4, then Borreload, Skulldet, Firewall, Decode Talker, Wonder Driver, Mrs. Radiant, Proxy Dragon, and 2 Linkaribos. So with that, let's jump into the games. So this first match is just going to display what I think a lot of you already know intuitively, and that's that any deck that can make a Macro Cosmos on a stick just ends up with a lot of really good matchups incidentally. One of these is against Dino Shadalls, what looks to be the dominant version of the dinosaur deck going forward. We get to go first, which is excellent news for us since we have both a SOLIDMAN and a Shadow Mist in our hand. We will use one to special the other, get ourselves a copy of Mask Change, set that sucker, and pass it back. Our opponent is going to start by activating Reinforcement of the Army, which prompts us to use the Mask Change. That's going to get us a Dark Law and banish every single card he adds to hand. We'll trigger Dark Law's effect and Shadow Mist's. Shadow Mist is going to protect the Dark Law with a copy of Honesty Neos. Then he'll get out a Soul Eating Overraptor after we banish the Shadal Fusion. They'll go into Grista, attack with Grista, we will Honesty Neos in response, and they'll concede. I hope 40-second long games are what you came for, because we've got a lot of them. Our second round opponent is playing Cyberse, a deck that aims to utilize individual monsters as material for link summons, but unfortunately, when those monsters go to the banished zone instead of the graveyard, they have a little bit of a problem rebuilding. We'll go ahead and get a copy of Mass Change to our hand, emergency call for an Honesty Neos, set 2 and pass it back. Our opponent's going to start by using Link Slayer after we go into a Dark Law in their standby phase, giving ourselves a copy of Vion to hand. Unfortunately, we've also drawn into a Malicious, but we got everything else anyway. They go into a Balancer Lord, a Boot Stagger, and an X-Code Talker, use Balancer Lord's effect to go into Bitron, and make a Firewall Dragon, which of course we immediately combat kill. Afterwards, they're going to use Unexpected Die, and then concede. One more 40-second game for you before we get into the good stuff. This time it's against Spiral, which at the very least is a real deck, but unfortunately our opponent is going first and has a bit of a ghost second hand. They really need that 6th card to shore up anything, really, and unless this Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit comes in clutch for them going first, I don't think anything's really going to happen. They're going to start by normal summoning the Spiral Quick Fix, getting a copy of Drone to hand, I guess, to set up for next turn, and then passing it back. We're going to start by activating our copy of A Hero Lives to get a copy of Shadow Mist from our deck. That Shadow Mist is going to trigger and get us a Mask Change. They're going to chain Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which isn't a big deal for us because, of course, we have almost infinite Dark Fodder with Destiny Hero Malicious. We'll go into Wonder Driver, use Malicious to get Malicious, then use one of our Mass Change to go into Dark Law. That's going to trigger Wonder Driver's effect, and our opponent concedes. So as you can see, a lot of free wins, even against meta decks. It turns out a lot of really powerful strategies rely on their graveyard as a second resource. Our fourth match is up against Fluffle, and this should at least last more than one turn. Unfortunately, Fluffle's another deck that really utilizes its graveyard, especially for things like this Fright for Fusion, and this Fluffle Bear is usually sent to the graveyard to get Toy Vendor, but like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, you actually just can't activate it if Dark Law's on the field. We're going to start, so we're going to activate this E-Emergency Call to get ourselves an Elemental Hero SOLIDMAN, then we're going to normal summon him to special summon this copy of Shadow Mist from our hand, get ourselves a Mask Change from deck, set that sucker along with the Cosmic Cyclone after Pot of Desiresing, and pass it back. We do this in draw phase, which turns out to be pretty good, because now they don't even get an opportunity to activate the bear. They're going to go ahead and summon this Fluffle Penguin, then in main phase 2, after attacking over our SOLIDMAN, they'll special the bear in defense mode. Now, this deck really can't assemble OTKs like it used to. We're going to Cosmic that set card, but it can provide really controlling boards. So we're going to get another copy of SOLIDMAN, use this effect to special summon Shadow Mist again to get another Mask Change, then we will attack over the Fluffle Penguin, attack into the bear, making sure to banish as much as possible, then in main phase 2, go into Wonder Driver, set this Mask Change so that in draw phase we can trigger its effect by special summoning Dark Law to its linked zone. We're also going to get the effect of Shadow Mist to get another Vion to our hand, not that we particularly need it at this point. Our opponent's going to set one and pass back, and from here we can basically do anything we want. We'll normal summon the Vion to send a Malicious, then we'll banish the Malicious for a Malicious, then link summon a Borreload Dragon, just in case that set card is something a little bit threatening, like a Man-Eater Bug or something, I don't know. I believe I miss Lethal here, but at this point it doesn't particularly matter. Our opponent's going to summon a Fluffle Penguin, then a Fluffle Wing, and then end their turn. We're going to use Borreload Dragon's effect at end step to decrease the attack so that we can more easily facilitate an OTK. We'll Cosmic Cyclone off the top to banish that, Fright for Fusion, then use Borreload Dragon to attack, decrease attack, get in for 1800, 1000, and then flip up this last Mass Change for our Anki for lethal. Alright, it's that time again. Let's see how this deck performs against meta. We are playing 3 games against Trickstar, and you can see our opponent is primed to go second. One advantage of playing Rogue is cards like Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries routinely miss you. In a world where Hero becomes more popular, this would be a big problem for us. We get to go first, so we will start by activating this copy of E-Call to get ourselves a Shadow Mist, normal summoning the SOLIDMAN so we can special summon our Shadow Mist, get ourselves a copy of Mask Change, activating E-Call to get an Honesty Neos, setting 3 and passing it back. Our opponent is going to draw into a Droll Knock Bird. We will go into Dark Law, and looks like setting all those cards is going to be really bad for us in about exactly 1 second when they activate evenly matched. So we've lost everything but Dark Law, but that hopefully is okay. We rip a Ghost Ogre, which is probably the last thing we wanted to rip. They get their Light Stage and their Licorice activation, but that's about it. They get 400 damage off of this, but afterwards we might be able to make something happen. We'll start by normal summoning Vion and sending a Malicious, then we'll attack into the Licorice, into his face directly, and then in main phase 2 we'll go into a Wonder Driver, special summon this Malicious from graveyard, trigger Wonder Driver's effect in order to get ourselves a Mass Change. He Ghost Ogres it, but that's not that big of a deal because we still have access to, of course, Dark Law, and we can use Wonder Driver's effect to get ourselves a second Vion, I don't know, as icing on the cake. Our opponent draws into Dark Hole, and this deck has a giant weakness against board wipes, so we're going to take 1800 from the Candina, 200 more from the Light Stage, and the Licoricica's coming in to do 1600 and 200 additional damage to us here. So now we're in a little bit of hot water, especially when we draw the last copy of Malicious. The worst draw remaining in our deck, but there he is. So a really painful game 1. It looked like we had it locked up, but Dark Hole. I mean, this deck has a really bad problem with board wipes, and it certainly hasn't gotten better since we lost our best tool for dealing with them, Tree Toad. We're going first this game, which is not excellent since our hand is Destiny Hero Malicious, Hello Darkness My Old Friend, and 2 copies of Pot of Desires, always 2, never more. Our opponent has opened multiple hand traps, so we'll see how this one goes. We start by doing Trickstar's Job for it and taking 4,000 damage with this A Hero Lives, which immediately gets Ash Blossomed, of course. We'll afterwards activate a Pot of Desires, which draws us into a Shadow Mist, and we do have a copy of Mask Change set, so we'll activate it in draw phase, and maybe we can do something. We're going to go ahead and use Shadow Mist to get an Honesty Neos. They go into battle phase, and I know what's coming. There goes my back row. They're going to set a copy of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I think they really don't want to use this terraforming because it could very easily get them in hot water if they run out of linear plays. They draw into a light stage, so they'll go ahead and get Candina. We get a Licorice, which is fine for us. They're going to tag the set card and then forget to when they get the second light stage, which doesn't actually end up mattering. They'll get a copy of Reincarnation and a Lilybell, so they get in for 1,000 directly, which is pretty important since I'm at 3k, but that's about it. At end step, I'm going to activate the Scapegoat so we have access to link plays, but we go ahead and draw into a copy of SOLIDMAN, the most solid man in my deck, and it turns out we don't actually need anything. We know it's a Reincarnation. They let us go to main phase, and we can activate this Honesty Neos. We're only going to lose 1 card, and we're kind of in control of this duel, and they've kind of got all their stuff banished. They'll draw another card that triggers Dark Law's effect and concede. So we're back in another game 3, and unfortunately this is one of those blink and you'll miss it kind of games. You can see our opponent has opened the entirety of the Droll and Lock combo, and unfortunately we're playing a deck that does not play around Droll and Lock particularly well. Shadow Mist just does too much. She adds heroes to hand, she adds Mass Change to hand, I mean, basically just invites Droll and Lock to ruin my entire day. They get to go first, of course, so they'll start by normal summoning Candina to get a Reincarnation, which is a pretty big tell of what they're going to do on their next turn. They'll go into Licoricica, set 3 cards, and pass it back to us. I think I'm going to be cute, set a couple cards before this Reincarnation goes off, but I play into a Twin Twister and kind of get next leveled here. We're going to go ahead and use this Hero Lives to get ourselves a copy of Shadow Mist, get ourselves a copy of Mask Change. This invites the Droll and Lock, so we're going to chain Mask Change and just hope that Dark Law gets us there. And interestingly enough, after that Reincarnation gets banished, it actually does. Let me explain this concession. This set card is Scapegoat on our opponent's side of the field, which is usually a good enough card to get you back into the game, but our opponent's extra deck is so bogged down with Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries targets that they didn't put in any Link Force. So we're back with the deck, and wow, that was nice. I don't feel like I deserved that last match, but at the very least it was close. Now, if any of you watched my stream last night, I invite you to purge that memory from your mind. This version of the deck is so much better than that one. It's much more consistent, first of all, by including emergency calls, and in unfilmed games, even the form change and the polymerization, as much as I hate to admit it, weren't cloggy. Usually they were just effective ways to finagle out lethal. I honestly love this version of the deck, and while the one with Grinder Golems is obviously more powerful, this version is much better at playing through multiple hand traps, which is probably a prerequisite to any competitive deck nowadays anyway. Now, it might not have Bahamut Sharks, but I really like the direction SOLIDMAN pushed the deck towards. So that's that, another hero deck under the belt. Hopefully Konami will have mercy on my sub count and release exclusively non-hero cards for the foreseeable future. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/monobluetron every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to midnight Eastern Standard Time, links in the description, and if you have an idea for a certain deck or archetype you want to see me play on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comment section below and I'll do my best. Otherwise, I'll see you Monday.